Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Jack, back again to talk about the latest and greatest in tier sets, as the Season 2 tier sets for Dragonflight have just been announced. And they are announced really in full, so hopefully we'll be able to test everything by the time that we have raid testing, which also just got announced for Thursday and Friday. So, without further ado, I wanted to go over some of the tier sets that we see so far, some of our thoughts on it, how it can affect class balance, etc. And we started off with probably one of the most insane of the set bonuses, Resto Druid. Rejuve, Life Bloom healing increased by 15%. Regrowth healing over time increased by 75%. Now, the healing over time usually isn't that heavy, that I remember. But of course, just flat Rejuve and Life Bloom healing, pretty damn good. Flourish, of course, increasing the rate of your heal over time effects by 40% for an additional 16 seconds after it ends. Then Verdant Infusion, causing your next Swiftmend target to gain 15% increased healing from you for 6 seconds. Wow. Why and wow? As if Evoker needed more output. Overall, yeah, Resto Druid's a big winner, and I guess it's really no surprise as Resto really super suffered in Shadowlands, and now that they're actually having access to like tier sets and also like the best of what Shadowlands brought, yeah, Resto Druid gonna be real good. Now, Evoker, keep in mind, they did receive nerfs to like Temporal Anomaly to try to like bring down the combo Evoker setup with like Golden Hour and Life Bloom, so their tier set bonus is also super important because of the nerfs that they're facing. Spirit Bloom applies a heal over time effect for 40% of the healing done over 8 seconds. Then Dream Breath's healing is increased by 15%. Both of these bonuses are super good, super flexible, both really good for Raid M+. Force Set, after casting 3 Empower spells, gain Essence Burst immediately, and another 3 seconds later. Yay. I think this one is not as hype, not as big of a deal, but it should offer you some more. Well, obviously the Essence Burst can give you some more flexibility, whether you need to be able to get out a few more echoes. That can also kind of help bring back some of the benefits from the combo effect, because you're only going to get full-fledged Lifebind or Golden Hour value out of full value echoes that you're going to be able to put out. So that one could be pretty good in terms of just giving you more free resources to work with an Essence Burst. But overall, I wonder if they actually try to make this Force Set maybe a little bit better, because I'm sure they're going to try to bring up Evoker into other builds after that they've nerfed down a lot of the combo Evoker stuff. So I actually was expecting something like more insane. Like, it's good, but I was expecting something more insane on the same level of Resto Druid. Now, as we take a little look onto Mistweaver, Renewing Mist has a chance to grant Soulfang Infusion, granting 5% of your max mana over 6 seconds. This one I'm very shocked by. You're already getting a huge slew of Renewing Mists out, and there's a bunch of talents to get even more. And if it's going to further funnel more mana to you all the time, that's going to be really insane. Obviously, we have to see how the proc chance of it's going to be and how it plays out, numbers, etc. But just the act of getting constant mana regen from Mistweaver just allows you to be a lot more aggressive with your resources, which is always a good thing. Also, especially because we don't have any mana trinkets that I saw from the raid, I'll have to double check, but I don't think I saw any. Force Set, drinking a tea or gaining infusion increases the healing of your Vivify and Renewing Mist by 40% for 6 seconds. So again, having more Renewing Mists out buffs the healing of Renewing Mist, and just easy feedback loop. They are doing some revamps to Vivify's healing, I think, so that it's going to be more prio target healing, if I remember the buffs that they're having as well. So that could also just be good for Mistweaver's flexibility in terms of bombing one target with a massive heal every once in a while. But I doubt that you're really going to focus on this buff or focusing in on the buff up time all the time. It'll be something you kind of keep in mind, like the way you keep in mind Disc's Force Set bonus of like, hey, I've already done this action. Now if I want to cast a follow-up Vivify, I at least know it's going to be a bit stronger. So honestly, I think it's going to be super sick for Mistweaver. Holy Paladin. Holy Shock's crit strikes heal for 15% more, reduce the cooldown of Light's Hammer by 2 seconds, and Holy Prism by 1 second. So this is interesting in that it's pushing you into certain talents, no matter what. Light's Hammer heals 100% more frequently and generates 1 Holy Power every 4 seconds. Holy Prism's healing is increased by 80%. And it generates 1 holy power if cast on an enemy, or 3 if cast on an ally. It's been a minute since I've been playing Paladin, but if they're still in a position where like Light of Dawn or just their spenders are giga high value, having 3 holy power that you're having on, I want to say it's like a 20-something second cooldown out of Holy Prism could be like really super insane. It's always going to be a benefit for like Prio Target, and Holy Shock Crit Strike heals healing for even more, and it already has a Spaceline Crit Strike, so Holy Shock is going to hit like a truck. But if you're able to make really effective use of these spenders, which I think Holy Pally is, if I'm not mistaken, let me know in the description down below. But I believe this is also going to be super sick for Holy Paladins as well. Like, huge win. Now, the area of my expertise, Discipline. Man, it's so bad. Casting Penance on an enemy also heals a nearby injured ally at 20% effectiveness. Casting Penance on an ally also damages the nearby enemy at 35% effectiveness. Of course, I would expect this to convert into some atonement healing, and it seems like it'll be a massive problem if it doesn't. One of the first things I saw when people talked about this was like, what if this enables contrition? And oh my god, just no. So, the biggest thing with this is that it's a flat buff to using Penance a lot, okay? And I want you to keep this in mind as we talk about it. The more you're casting Penance and the more you're casting on a cooldown, you're getting extra healing, or you're getting the extra damage, which should convert to atonement healing, right? Wonderful. Now, the 4-set bonus. Every 3 casts of Penance, and so if it's every single time, you could track it and hold it for specific moments, like a ramp. Every 3 casts grants you Shadow Covenant for 5 seconds and converts that Penance to a Shadow spell. So it's almost like while you're firing the bolts out, the Penance is actually Dark Reprimand. So, huzzah, we get some Shadow Covenant uptime. But if you're doing it every 3 casts, I have to build up my Harsh Discipline stacks in advance, and I have to cast multiple Penances in advance of my ramp in order to hit the largest ramp possible, and then I have a reduced duration of Shadow Covenant, and then I also have the regular Shadow Covenant ability, and so I'm going to juggle between the base Shadow Covenant uptime I receive, and then hitting Shadow Covenant again to hit more abilities, and still weave Twilight Equilibrium. On and on and on. Oh my goodness. I'm just not looking forward to how Disc plays in raids these days because of all this crazy button bloat that we have going on, because of just juggling between debuffs on targets, buffs onto yourself, and weaving between 9 different damage spells to be able to produce atonement output. I'm sick of it. Honestly, I'm sick of it, and I don't think this is going to help in a substantial way in a raiding environment. In an M+ environment, this stuff's fine, you know. I could always go for some more Shadow Covenant uptime. Great. You know, this stuff seems alright, but man, this really hit the mark in my book for what Discipline needs and what Discipline could use to help make the spec better. I think with Paladin, for example, where they go full on into, hey, you're taking Light's Hammer or Holy Prism. It's okay to be like pushed into talents. I don't think that's a problem at all. But then for Disc, it's like, oh, well, last tier we had stuff around shields. This tier we have stuff around penance. I'm like, come on, actually like be creative and look at specific talents, especially raid talents or raid-oriented talents, that you could push us into a build with. I mean, better yet, they could also couple this with like 10-1 changes where they could make like Wrath Unleashed a giga build to play around, and then you don't have to worry about all these shadow spells to add into the mix. I think that'd be a good way to do it, because we don't need like 9 or 10 different abilities to deal damage. We need like 5, maybe. Very, very silly. In better news, though, oh my god, the Holy Priests came out with the fat sack of loot on this one. Prayer of Mending has a 20% chance to duplicate to another nearby target when it jumps. The way I read this, well, we'll see in practice, if it's going to duplicate, it's, you know, one-to-one copy of what's going on. I'm curious if that means you're going to be able to split like a 5-stack or a 7-stack, because you can actually stack to 7 these days. Oh my god, that would be pretty nuts. You also have talents in, I believe it's called Say Your Prayers, which are reducing the chance of a Prayer of Mending stack to get consumed when it actually heals. You also have additional bounces. You can stack your bounces up to 14 onto a target. Salvation obviously puts out a lot of bounces. So it's just even more Prayer of Mending healing. And also, with more instances of Prayer of Mending healing, you get more Apotheosis uptime out of Answered Prayers. And so Answered Prayers will proc Apotheosis onto yourself, giving you free holy words and faster regen on them. And it also means when you're talented into Harmonious Apparatus, and you're using Circle of Healing or Prayer of Mending, those are also giving you more cooldown reduction. And when you have Apotheosis on top of that, it's giving you even more holy word cooldown reduction. Now, when Prayer of Mending jumps the 4-set, it increases the damage and healing of your next holy word by 4%, stacking up to 15 times. I actually think that 15 stacks is a little low for a cap, but I understand why, because you are going to get so many bounces when there's pulsing, ticking raid damage on everybody, because these Prayer of Mendings are not going to go away. They're going to keep on bouncing and stack up this buff like crazy. Miracle Worker, Answered Prayers, all that stuff on the right side is just going to be like locked in for the tier. If you're casting as many additional holy words as you are, I wonder if that could make Divine Image really powerful, since you're just going to have so many more holy words that it could potentially outweigh the need or maybe the desire for the consistent healing out of something like Divine Word. So I could absolutely see that happening. Be very interesting, but either way, you just run Divine Word. Like, both those options I think are going to be really, really strong for the spec. And man, Holy Priest is going to have the best tier set it has ever had since maybe like Tomb of Sargeras. It's going to be, it's going to be good. Downside is, this tier set kind of feels bad for M+, not gonna lie. There's some boss fights that are really good for it, and where Prayer of Mending does a ton of healing. Then you get into some trash packs that don't really have much group-wide damage, and all your Prayer of Mendings fall off. So that's kind of the downside of just how Prayer of Mending naturally works. Unfortunately, it is what it is. Now, finally, we have our Resto Shamans. And I did get some help on that, so shout out to Thune for giving me some clarity and everything for some of the questions that I had for him. For the 2-set bonus, when you cast Healing Rain, all allies with your Riptide on them are healed by Tide Waters for 140% of spell power. So instantly, you're already being encouraged or even pushed into a Riptide build, which I was talking to Thune about, and that was not really their initial plan, was to be playing Riptide stuff. And the 4-set continues to double down on that, where each ally healed by Tide Waters increases your haste, of all things, by 1% for 6 seconds and increases the healing of your next Riptide by 10%. So, for another thing, it pushes you into playing a different build than, at least from what I've heard, was the plan for Resto Shamans, and it's also, oddly enough, giving you haste benefits, which I also thought was very bad for Shamans. But I could be wrong in that one. Kind of odd that you're getting that, but it's also a nice way to spread heal effectively. If you're always dropping Healing Rain, you're always going to be healing everybody that has Riptide onto them. Wonderful. I think that doesn't seem to make too much of a difference in like an M+ environment, since you're always going to be dropping Healing Rain for like the Acid Rain benefits, and you're pretty comfortably able to get Riptide on whoever really needs it. So I don't know if that just bursts up your Cloud Burst a little bit more effectively for just some extra output on hand, but I can't imagine that this is very impactful in any way for like an M+ environment, which kind of seems to be the trend. I think that only a few of the set bonuses like Resto Druid or Evoker have very impactful set bonuses when it comes to an M+ environment. You could probably say the same for like Holy Paladin, switching between Hammer and Holy Prism. And Mistweaver for the extra healing out of like Renewing Mist and Vivify. I think that could help on like boss fights. Certainly the mana could help on boss fights. But I don't think it's going to be like as impactful as I think like the Evoker one in particular would be super, super strong for the prio target that you're going to be able to provide, especially to your tank. Once you're going to be losing all those free living flame casts, or there's instant cast living flames, you'll be able to lean on Spirit Bloom just kind of carrying a lot more, and Dream Breath already carries already, so why not just tack on some more buffs to it? We'll see. Overall, I think that Shaman and Disc, from the looks of these, are in the worst shape. I'm surprised Preservation Evoker doesn't have a more insane set bonus. And man, oh man, I am excited for Mistweaver Monks. I'm excited for Holy Priest. And I'd imagine Holy Pally should be excited as well. So let me know what you guys think about the set bonuses and which of them or how you would improve the disc set bonus. Let me know, because Blizzard needs all the ideas they can get. Thank you so much for watching. Buff Disc Priest, and I'll catch you all next time.